The majority of people will find weight loss easier if they just simply eat clean. Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. I thought I would chat with you guys and gals a little bit about this today. And when I state this, I want to be clear, this is the evidence-based approach. This whole flexible dieting, if it fits your macros trend that got really popular over a decade ago, pretends to be evidence-based, but it's really not. It's not, because yes, we know calories in, calories out is the primary factor here. This is understood, but they're not addressing, number one, the difficulty of adherence if you don't eat clean. Number two, they're not addressing the fact that calories out is enormously different depending upon what you eat. In other words, the exact same person in the exact same week eating 3,000 calories of completely different foods, even if the macro count is pretty close, can have a very different impact on the calories out. Okay, thermic effect, energy turnover, the way that we oxidize fat. In other words, if they eat a bunch of refined sugars and highly refined carbs and saturated fat, even if the macros are the same, it will produce a vastly different calories out than if they were eating brown rice, sweet potatoes, and avocados for those same carbs and fat. Okay, and that is very well supported in all the scientific literature. Like this is understood. Okay. It's understood. Furthermore, what I mean by the evidence-based approach, all the available literature, all of it that is looked at, it finds that the majority of people can adhere to a diet easier when they have less variation in their diet. In other words, people, oh, we need all this extra variety. We need these treats worked in. But all the research looks at it and says the fewer foods that you eat, obviously you don't want to do a mono food diet, but people who only eat, say, 5 or 6 different foods throughout most of the week and maybe an occasional cheat day, have a much, much, much higher adherence. And you can tell that these people who push this approach have never been fat. Like when they talk about this, you know that this is a skinny mofo who probably was born with a six-pack talking about, oh, you can eat 3 cookies and weigh them out and just track them into your thing. And it's like, they've never been fat. Because no reasonably sane person who has ever been truly morbidly obese would ever make such a stupid statement to other people trying to lose weight. And I do mean that. Like, it is so ridiculously idiotic. It is beyond idiotic. Absolutely idiotic and ignorant to tell a morbidly obese person who has leptin and ghrelin issues, probably has binge issues with their eating, that it is even biologically possible for them to eat 300 calories of cookie or ice cream and close the container up and put it away. Okay? Crap that never happened for 500, Alex. Let me explain how this is really going to work. Anyone who has struggled with obesity, which means they probably struggle with binge eating, they probably struggle with appetite issues, they can't close the ice cream up. They are physically and psychologically incapable of doing it. Speaking as someone who has been over 300 pounds, there is no scenario it's even remotely imaginable any of us who've been there can take a container of ice cream and eat a third of it and weigh it out and put the rest away. And it will stay in the freezer for 24 hours without being eaten. That's like winning the lottery. The ability to pull that off would be like winning the lottery. And those same people want to say this nonsense of, well, they need to fix their relationship with their food. They can't. There's appetite and hormonal issues and dopamine issues. That's not how it works. Again, you can tell these are people who have never been overweight. These are goofball trainers who have good appetite control, probably had to force themselves to eat to even gain muscle. Okay? This is not good. And here's the thing, when we look at personality types, we know that only 30 to 40% of the population are moderators. Meaning people who are capable of moderating their various vices and things, right? People who are capable of eating that ice cream and then putting the rest away. People who are capable of drinking regularly but stopping at 1. Okay, this is less than 50% of the population. For the other 60 to 70% of the human population, they have to abstain when they're dealing with these sort of things. They have to completely abstain. And the audacity of it, well, that's just going to make them binge more. That's like telling people who drink alcohol, Well, by abstaining is just going to make you drink more. Yeah, that is not what they find at AA or all these successful programs for alcoholics. No, abstinence works for 2/3 of the population. Moderation only works for about 1/3. And when you understand that from a personality type perspective, then you understand why, well, how come these thousands of people over here, they're able to work these treats in? They say stuff like 80% whole foods, 20%. 20% junk food, or 20% whatever you want. We don't call it junk food. It is junk food. It's garbage. It's not fit for human consumption. Okay? Potato chips are not food. French fries, cake, those are junk. They might be treats. They might taste good, but they need to be treated as treats. They're not something you should be consuming daily. And it really is, I think, better to call them a cheat day, a cheat meal, because that's what it is. And I see no problem with that. I think plenty of people can do a big cheat meal every 2 weeks or so and still continue to lose weight. And then abstain from all this stuff for the other 13 and a half days. They're actually going to be more successful because most people are not capable of moderating. And as long as you have your cheat days planned, your cheat meals planned, it's easier to hold out. Instead of, hey, I'm going to try to eat this small amount of this every day, you're going to break eventually. That's what's going to break you. That is what's going to break you. And I've seen it over and over and over. But again, this is why people are like, but why does this work for this group and it doesn't work for me? Because you're in the majority and they're in the minority. But because it works for those people, they're like religious zealots. They run around, oh, you've got to count your macros. Like, count your macros and just work the treats in. It'll be fine. It's the only way. You're a bro. You're anti-science if you don't. But then the science supports the other for diet adherence, right? They're technically anti-science. They're technically a cult in the way that they behave, that they want to proselytize everyone. There's a better way, when the reality, most people are just going to get better results eating clean. In other words, most people, if they're going to eat chicken, brown rice, sweet potatoes, and avocado as your staple foods day in and day out, you're probably going to stick to it better and then have your occasional cheat meal that you've planned out. Like every Friday night I go out with my friends or my girlfriend or my family and we have our one cheat meal and I eat this, but then they do it in a social environment to where they're not going to be as inclined to binge in front of other people on top of it. Okay? That is far more effective for 2/3 of the population. Okay? And all the available research absolutely supports it. Absolutely supports it. And it still falls within calories in, calories out, which we know is true. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys and gals next time.